Welcome to Living Your Greatness. Each episode, we bring on great people to inspire you to achieve your greatness. We discuss topics all related to health and wellness. Listen to world-class stories, learn valuable lessons, and turn knowledge into action. It is now time for you to unlock your inner greatness. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Living Your Greatness. This is your host, Ben Mummy, and today we have a new guest to the show, and his name is Mike Konnert. Mike is an experienced CEO with a demonstrated history of working in the mining and metals industry, skilled in startups, corporate finance, mining, and IPOs. Strong business development professional with a bachelor's degree, focusing in business commerce, specializing in entrepreneurship from Royal Roads University. Mike has appeared on Kitco News, the Metals Investor Forum, Cambridge House, Crux Investor, The Resource Maven, and dozens of other financial websites. So Mike, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on with us today.
Well, thanks, Ben. And I'm really excited to do this because I love this type of format. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you today.
So Mike, let's kind of kick off here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you spend your formative years growing up in Canada? What led you to a career in mining precious metals and natural resources? And how and when did you start up Vizsla Silver Corp?
Yeah, that sounds good. And it's kind of an interesting time to have that question, where did I spend my formative years? Because it's, I'm Canadian. I born and raised in BC, in Vancouver, Canada. And of course, yesterday was Canada Day. And it's interesting. You kind of forget sometimes, or don't take where we live for granted. And there's a number of issues with any place that you live. But I'm kind of reminded. We had a chat a little bit before this. Kind of reminded how lucky we are to be in Canada. So formative years in Canada, Vancouver, which is kind of the home of junior mine finance and capital markets around mining. And so I studied. Went to school here in BC. Went to Royal Roads University, and I kind of spent my early career doing whatever I could to break into the industry, and initially that looked like investor relations and kind of capital markets work for public companies, junior public companies. One of those was a company that went on to be quite large, which is Pretium Resources, which is mining from the Brucejack mine in British Columbia right now. And one thing that I kind of noticed was that I had a real passion for a number of aspects of this business. But one of the things that really drew me to mining was this, specifically the junior side, was the ability to kind of come up with a concept, be entrepreneurial, finance a concept, and then be kind of adventurous and chasing down opportunities all around the world. And so that's where I kind of had a glimpse of it. And you and I talked about this a little bit before, but I basically started at the very top of the junior market, which was 2010. And I got to see the excitement and how fun it was, and big financings, and everybody was, the whole world was buzzing with, this is the best thing ever is gold, and it's super cycle, it's going to last forever. And of course, that was the last year of the super cycle when I started, and then I spent the subsequent years kind of learning from the best during the downturn. And on the back of that, I ended up meeting my business partner and my mentor and very good friend, Craig Perry, and he gave me an opportunity to build a company with and for him, and that was Cobalt One. And in 2016, we started that. 2017, we sold that. It was over 3,000% return for our early investors, and it was an incredible win for both myself and Craig in a very short period of time. And on the back of that, I had such a good time with that experience and building the company and working with Craig on that I went out and incorporated Vizsla Silver. At that time, it was Vizsla Resources. And the intention was to build a large company out of this small IPO. And along the way we had a lot of challenges, but recently Vizsla Silver has been one of the top performing companies in the silver space. We've raised over $100 million in the last 12 months for the company, and I'm confident that the discoveries that we're making in Mexico will go down in history as some of the best silver veins, discovered in modern times. So it's really quite exciting, and all comes from just that following the interest that I had, I think 10 plus years ago in this kind of captivating and exciting space called the junior mining capital markets.
Thanks for sharing that background there, Mike. It appears now that inflation has been a popular topic on the mainstream news. In fact, a couple of weeks ago on CNBC News, Ali McCartney, who works for UBS Private Wealth Management, said she is now talking to clients about inflation-proof assets for wealth preservation. It is clear to the public now that the rate of monetary inflation has gone up crazy. A lot of money has been printed and prices continue to go up. So Mike, what is your opinion? Do you think inflation will continue to rise? If so, how can a millennial investor like myself protect his or her wealth?
First of all, yes, I think absolutely it's going to go. It's what inflation really is, and inflation is evil, and inflation is a tax on people who create value, basically, and certainly a tax on the middle class. And it's a difficult thing, to have such high inflation, or I guess the effects of it can be pretty devastating. And I think it actually has to almost change how a millennial investor, or just a millennial alone, interacts with kind of money and a career here, because you're not going to get rewarded to go out and earn X dollars and save X dollars and try to buy a house, and like our parents' generations have done, right? I think inflation offers some opportunities as well too, and we're seeing this in cryptocurrencies and real estate and a lot of things. Assets are going to rise in value because the number of dollars against that asset are increasing. That's kind of a simple, very oversimplified summation of inflation there. But what so if looking at that and saying, okay, well, if a traditional lifestyle, going and making X and spending 75% of that and saving 25% of that isn't going to work, and I can invest that, then I think what you need to look at is different income streams. And a way to do that is through investing. Investing in companies like junior mining companies that are going to do well, because they're finding and mining the commodities that are kind of the hedges against inflation. I mean, that's one opportunity. Investing in property, or kind of finding ways to own assets that are going to go up due to inflation, is another way to kind of make money in the space. But I think it almost just you have to take that information, and take that information and look at what opportunities come out of challenges, and that's always one of the such a kind of a core tenet of our core value of Vizsla and our team as well too, is that we always try to look at challenges as opportunities. And inflation is not great, but it creates opportunities, and it's just worth it to go out and find how to make money with those opportunities.
So Mike, can you give us a little history lesson on Vizsla Resources? When and how did the company get started in the mining exploration business? And can you tell us more about the evolution of this company? Originally, it was called Vizsla Resources, and now it is called Vizsla Silver Corp. Why the change of the name?
Yeah. So really, Vizsla was something that was kind of accumulation of all this information that I had come up with, just basically by being a sponge and learning from people, asking people that had done certain things questions, and I was just really interested. I think you mentioned in my education background was entrepreneurship, and I've always been, whether it was when I was a teenager or in my early 20s or whatever, I was always quite entrepreneurial, starting businesses and things like that. And so I'd always wanted to kind of start companies. And when I got into this business, I really gravitated towards some of these people that had built a number of public companies and gone through the IPO process and things like that. And so I tried to learn as much as I could on how to structure a deal, how to finance a deal, how to do an IPO. And at the same time as as I was doing that, I was looking at projects with people, acquiring projects with people, and so all these things kind of came together with the IPO of Vizsla Resources at the time, and that was right after Craig and I sold Cobalt One. So I'd kind of, my main job at that point was, we'd sold the company, so I was on to the next thing, and I thought, well, you know what, why don't I build a vehicle, a company with all this knowledge and all this stuff that I've kind of gained from all these people that have done it before, and go out and we'll build a great team, and we'll find a fantastic project, and make it a success. And so the background there is I incorporated the company as a private company. I was the first shareholder, wrote a check, the first check on it. I'll actually get into some of the specific details on this because it's kind of an interesting story. But I kind of put all my life savings into the company prior to the IPO, so I was pretty motivated to get it across the line. Actually, it was sometimes a little bit stressful, but we were able to go, and it was a difficult time in the mining market for metals at that time, and we'd gone and went to the Haywood IPO through Haywood, and it was during the summer. I think it was August. We were trying to raise money in August. Everybody was away. No one really wanted to get involved in that financing, but we finally did it. It came to trade the day before my wedding, so it was kind of a nice couple. It's always easy for me to remember my wedding anniversary by remembering a day after the IPO date of Vizsla. And we built a great team around that. So Craig and Simon Smirlik, who's the COO of Ausenco Engineering, he's I think one of the world's best mine builders. Ausenco is a huge organization. He runs that, and he does incredible. He's a great mentor and an incredible professional. And Stuart Smith, who's a renowned PhD geologist. We had a team there. And so that would have been 2018, and we had this team, and we're looking at all these assets, looking at production things, looking at big copper things. I was spending time in Ecuador and Chile and Mexico and US and going all over the world trying to find the next project. And we were introduced to a fellow who'd been working down in Mexico for a number of years, working on consolidating this district. And we immediately, once we heard about this project, there was a presentation sent to us, and we looked at it and thought, this is incredible. I can't believe this opportunity exists. This is, you very rarely come across these things. So we flew down to the project, basically a few days after getting that presentation, and decided that we had to, there was no better opportunity than this. We had to get it. And so, as I mentioned that Vizsla had already started trading, and it was my wedding. Not so long after that, my wife and I got pregnant, and so I was kind of flying back and forth to Sinaloa every couple of weeks, every week. Sometimes middle of the night I'd have to leave and get down there just because we were so focused for about a year, so focused on getting that deal across the line. And my wife was really quite generous, with allowing me to basically up until my son was, she was 9 months pregnant, I was heading down there, and we finally got the deal across the line, and it was it was an incredible victory, just signing it. But then we had to get the exchange to approve it, and all these types of things, and it ended up being a number of challenges on that front. But finally we got the deal across the line and signed into Vizsla Resources. And the next challenge after that was financing it, because we had a very large option payment, in the company, and it was actually bigger than the market cap of the company, and we faced a lot of criticism on that. But Charles and I, the VPX, now he's our technical director, would travel all around Canada and the US raising that initial $6 million, and it seemed like a Herculean task at the time, but we finally got it done. And of course, we were drilling, and then of course COVID hit and shut us down again. So there's a number of challenges there. But last summer we made one of the top discoveries in all of the world for silver at the Napoleon vein. I raised $30 million for the company at that time. And then just a month or so ago, we raised another $74 million for the company. And we have 10 rigs on the ground. We have over 150 people on the project. We're Mexico's most aggressive exploration company for silver. We're doing a bigger exploration program than majors do in Mexico. It's really spectacular. And the success there of Vizsla Silver is due to the great team that we have and the great asset that we have. But without the team, it wouldn't be possible to do what we're doing here. And I think there's a lot of great stuff to come for Vizsla. And again, it's just the combination of a great asset and a great team is how we're getting there. But you asked about the name change, and the idea was actually we wanted to show that we're 100% focused on the Panuco Silver District in Mexico. It's such a great opportunity and such a unique chance for a public company to have exposure to such upside that we wanted to show that we're not looking at any other projects. We're Vizsla Silver. We're focused on the Panuco project in Sinaloa.
So Mike, this actually leads me to my next question, which is, can you tell us more about the mining jurisdiction? Is Mexico really considered a safe and predictable jurisdiction to work in?
Yeah, first of all, the answer to that is yes, I believe so. But I love working in Mexico. I think there's a great combination between there are some risks there, of course. Everybody's seen those movies or documentaries on Netflix for kind of I suppose kind of showing the organized crime side of things, but that's not an issue that we come across on the mining side. We're focused on our business, and so in our experience, Mexico has been very safe and a great area to operate in, specifically Sinaloa. I'm kind of happy to say that we're one of the few groups that are working in Sinaloa, because it's actually what's afforded us this opportunity. I suspect that if the Panuco district was over the border in Durango, another 50 kilometers away or something like that, it would already be in a Peñoles or a Fresnillo or one of the world's top silver miners. But because it is in Sinaloa, and there's certain reputations, I suppose, of Sinaloa, this opportunity was left for us to do. So I love Mexico. I think it's the people, the team that we've been able to assemble there, very, very hardworking, very, very tied into the success of the company, very loyal and respectful, and all around the world there seems to be a bit of a shift towards kind of more left-leaning governments, including Latin America, like Peru and Chile and things like that. Now in Mexico, I think the mining industry is so integral to the success of the company, and of course it's been a mining country for 500 years. It's established. Peñoles, Fresnillo, Agnico Eagle operates there. Gold Corp or Barrick now. These, or I should say Newmont. These major companies are operating in Mexico, and there's ways to do that by respecting and sharing values with the communities. And I suspect if you're able to do that, it will remain an excellent place to work.
What about the current silver market thesis? What makes you believe that there is a future for this commodity? How does it compare with the gold market thesis? What would you expect silver, the precious metals price, to be trading at before year end?
Well, I've gone on record a few times in saying that it's going to be triple digits. I was hoping that was going to happen sooner than it has. No, I do think inevitably silver will reach a very high price, and it may happen all at once. In the past, you just have to look back at history, and when you have gold moves like this, silver tends to follow. And and although gold is lagging a little bit right now, the world situation at hand in the world, I've never been more bullish on precious metals, but I've also never been more bullish, and I can't see a reason not to be very, very bullish on industrial metals or commodities like copper, nickel, and things that are involved in electrification. Now, silver is also very important to electrification. So there's two reasons why I love silver, and I actually like it more than gold. in the sense that you get two ways to win. You get the commodity, the currency or precious metal characteristics of gold, but you also get the industrial applications of base metals, in one metal. And I think silver is going to be very topical in the coming years here. I think it has this ability. Silver, more than any other metal, has this ability to kind of capture people's attention, and the fact that it's the market is so much more affected by the electrification thesis and move towards electric cars or electrification across the world, then the impact of electrification on the silver market is so much more impactful than it is, let's say, on the copper market or the nickel market, because silver is such a small market. So again, money printing, basically going into debt or printing money to fund green initiatives, it's like a double whammy for silver. So I'm very excited about it.
Okay, great. So Mike, could you describe the different mining camps and opportunities that Vizsla is exploring? Is the focus only on silver?
So what we've done in Mexico is there's this very old district. Originally, it was mined in the mid 1500s, discovered by someone named Francisco de Ibarra, and he discovered the Fresnillo district. He discovered the Durango district, and then he moved west into Sinaloa, and this was the last district that he discovered, and it's been mined ever since. This is, there's actually one church there that the Vatican blessed because it was sending so much gold and silver back to Europe, in its history. So this has always been an important silver camp in Mexico, but it's been a bit forgotten. So we're focused on one land package that's contiguous, and it's called the Panuco district, but it's really made up of two areas, the Copala and Panuco district. And there's 80 kilometers plus of veins that run through it. There's one vein in particular that's been the center of historic mining. That's the Animus vein. And, we think that through kind of our reviews of the void spaces and historic records, there's been about 100 million ounces of silver and gold, or 100 million ounces of silver equivalent, I should say. So silver and gold taken out of that vein historically. And, that's just one 5-kilometer vein of over 80 kilometers of veins, over dozens and dozens of veins running through the property. Now, where we're drilling on Napoleon and Tajitos, that's less than 5% of the overall veins. So it's really incredible to find something so underexplored. The fact is, we were the first drill hole into the Napoleon vein, and we made that very large discovery last year. So, I guess, the focus of the company is on the Panuco district. So the whole district that we have at hand. And the real goal here and the objective of the company is to explore this district, using modern techniques in a systematic manner, because it's never been explored in its history. It's always been held up and held by kind of smaller Mexican companies that would mine a little bit. They would never do any exploration, but they just do underground mining. So it's almost like we're rediscovering it for the first time, like they did 500 years ago. It's really an incredible opportunity. And just as an aside, we're using some really impressive technologies like electromagnetic surveys that have already shown us some hidden veins that are showing up on the district that we didn't know about before. And we've only really been working here for, in good earnest time, probably about a year, and I think we're going to be here finding many hundreds of millions of ounces of silver over the coming years.
So Mike, if you had to describe which silver mining company it compares best to today, would you consider its profile to be more similar to First Majestic or a Pan-American Silver?
Well, in our presentation, we have a kind of a show of the silver universe in Mexico, and of course, you have on one side you have developers and explorers, and on the other side you have producers and large-scale producers. Now, without studies and without, it's kind of difficult for me to give the the full projection of where I think we can go because of the issues with disclosure and 43101, and I don't want to say anything that's that can't be backed up by reports and economics and things like that. But I can say this, that our internal goal has always been to produce at a level of about 12 million ounces of silver equivalent per annum. That's equivalent to a San Dimas mine that's part of basically the driver of First Majestic's Mexican operations, or a Palmarejo that Coeur owns. But I actually suspect that the potential when we're through what we need to do in terms of resource drilling and economic studies, the potential for us to be an even larger producer is real here, because this is one of these, very, very large systems that can tolerate this type of production level. So, I can't say that we're going to be the next First Majestic or something like that, but with an asset like this and the team that we have, I think, the skies are quite blue for us. And I think there's a lot of upside.
Recently, after listening to Gwen Preston's tutorial on mining companies, I was reminded how important the management team is in place. Could you profile the Vizsla team for the benefit of our listeners?
Certainly. So, as probably learned throughout the podcast here, I'm the CEO and the founder of Vizsla, and my partner, business partner and chairman of this company is Craig Perry, and Craig has quickly become one of the kind of the big names in mining. He's also the chairman of Skeena Resources, which is building the SK mine in British Columbia. He was one of the founders of NextGen Energy, which is a multi-billion-dollar uranium company. One of the not only uranium, but one of the world's greatest discoveries, period, for mineralized for any commodity. In recent history, just an incredible asset. He's involved with private equity, one of the founders of EMR Capital out of Australia, which is a multi-billion-dollar private equity firm. Craig is like I said, one of the kind of big names in mining, and I think we're just getting started as well too. One of the things that we often talk about is this is just the beginning, certainly for Vizsla, but for our other group of companies, which is Inventa Capital, and we have some great companies in there as well. That's a partnership between myself and Craig, Inventa Capital. And so, having the guidance of someone like Craig as chairman is an excellent way to keep us, navigating the challenges ahead. But we're also kind of supported by Simon Smirlik, who I've mentioned before, the COO of Ausenco Engineering, Stuart Smith, PhD geologist, was most recently running the copper business for Teck Resources, a very large international miner. But on the management side of Vizsla, we also have Charles Funk, who's our technical director. He's a spectacular young geologist that's quickly made a name for himself with this discovery and other discoveries. We have a great country manager, Hernando Rueda, who came from Capstone and Agnico in Mexico. Pete Longo, one of our great newer team member, has joined our team most recently. An incredible engineer. Marty Dupuy, our VP of Technical Services. Velko Berchik, who's our corp dev guy. And behind the scenes, even more, we have a great corporate secretary group and accounting group, and that's all led by Mahesh Lianagi, who's our CFO. So the Vizsla team, in my opinion, is basically comprised of the best people in the industry. It's something that we all love working together, and it's a great environment for the team. So it's something I'm very proud of.
Thanks for profiling each kind of member there, Mike. Having attended many virtual precious metal investment conferences, it is clear that the majority of investors in the sector are in their golden years. The millennials are virtually absent, with their attention more focused on cannabis or crypto. The question that comes to my mind is why? Is it a matter of relatability? In your opinion, why has the mining sector failed to attract millennial generation's investment dollars?
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? Like I was at a Canada Day thing yesterday, and we were talking about, someone brought up, well, I think I might start investing mushrooms, and psychedelic mushroom companies. And, people say, oh, well, that's like marijuana. All the guys at work I know, are into marijuana companies. And, and I say, well, what about mining? And yeah, that's good. Gold's gold. That's always good, but it kind of lacks the, I guess the sex appeal that some of these other newer technologies or new companies have. And I don't think that's going to be the case for very long here. I think that, there's a couple of things that kind of draw people's interest into the space. And like one of those was the Wall Street online or whatever it is, the Reddit silver crew that, I was actually down in Mexico at the project when they tried to, spike the silver price there. And it was crazy. That was a really fun little bit of time there. And everybody seemed to kind of be drawn to the kind of silver space there. And I think there's going to be a few more occasions of that happening. And then I think it's going to be something that's topical and that captivates the investment idea. And in any of these things, these are all cyclical, right? It's everything in life is cyclical. And I think the time for miners to become very topical again, and, millennials being, excited about a copper discovery in Africa or silver in Mexico. And I think that time's coming, and it might get brought on by automakers or, the Teslas of the world, or, who knows, something like that kind of coming downstream and getting involved in the assets themselves. But also maybe it takes people like myself and Galen, we talked about, from Summa, younger CEOs getting out there and doing our best to kind of arm wave and, make this exciting for people. And at the end of the day, people are attracted to things that make them money, and big discoveries and, great stories and, share prices that go from 15 cents to $15. I think that stuff helps. So, I think things will, as I said, I think it'll kind of cycle back into popularity in the future. And I don't think it is completely out of popularity, but, there's a lot of competition for attention these days.
Absolutely. So Mike, as you know, I represent the millennial investment community. Why would we invest in Vizsla versus another silver explorer? What are the key investment points?
That's a good question. There's often I'll say that there's three main things about Vizsla that people should know. But really all that, as I said before, the only thing that really matters is, are you going to make money at it? And the reason I think investors would make money investing in Vizsla is because, first of all, we're very undervalued compared to our peers. Our peers are trading in the multi-billions of market cap. We still have a few things left to do to kind of unlock, that inflection point. But I think those will be kind of underway in the near term here. So there's a lot of catalysts coming up. But the three main reasons why Vizsla sets apart from its competitors and why I think it's the best silver company out there is that we have an incredible district. I talked about this district. It's like we're rediscovering it for the first time again. It's completely underexplored. It's huge. It only exists in our company because it's over the border in Sinaloa. If it was anywhere else, it would be in one of the world's largest silver miners' hands, producing silver for hundreds of years already. So it's huge. It's one of the biggest things in Mexico. The second reason is that it's extremely high grade. The grades basically equal profitability for mining companies, and this is one of the highest grade silver companies out there. It's spectacular to see. And then the third reason is because we're going to be able to get it out of the ground faster than I think people expect. And the reason for that is that we have a deal structure where we can buy the mill, basically own everything 100%, buy the mill, and move into commercial production faster than really any other typical mining company. So, in this business, you want to invest in companies that are going to be, let's say silver does continue to increase, and the silver cycle restarts and silver goes to $50. No better company to invest in than one that's finding a huge amount of silver on a huge property that's very high grade, and then can actually go into production to capture those high prices. So, I'm extremely bullish on the company. It's such an incredible opportunity that I think it's definitely one that's worth worth reviewing and worth investing in.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing those three points there, Mike. So leading to my next question, who are your greatest mentors? Where do you suggest the millennial investors go to better educate themselves before making an investment decision?
Well, it's a good question. The first part's very easy for me to answer. My greatest mentor is Craig Perry. He's also my business partner, and I'm very thankful for the ability to work with him. And the other person is Simon Smirlick as well, who I've mentioned as well. I'm kind of lucky that I get I have a board of that are also my mentors. So it's kind of a lucky situation. But and then the other part of the question is where would you go to educate yourself, or if you're interested in the business. I was actually reflecting on that the other day. Someone else's, maybe there's another question kind of similar to that, but if I were to start again and what I would probably do is go and find someone like a Craig or a group of people that are building companies, doing something really interesting, and I would just go and try to find ways to add value to them, work for free or whatever it is, but do what you can to create value for people that are doing interesting things out there. And that's a great place to learn. But again, if you're not in an area where that you can do that, or there's COVID lockdowns or whatever, doing something like you're doing here is probably the best way to get ideas. And I love doing these types of interviews and things like that. But I know a lot of people that have learned a lot by just asking questions like this, and it helps a lot of people make these investment decisions and things like that. So it's there's a lot of good content out there, but I think creating content helps filter through some of these ideas, and learning you're able to learn straight from the source. So it's a good idea.
Absolutely. So Mike, you've been interviewed a lot this past year. I noticed you are very passionate about educating people on how to play this commodity super cycle and profit by investing in gold, silver, and mining stocks. So Mike, what is your motivation for helping people? It seems like there's a greater purpose behind it.
Yeah, definitely. Part of it is that I've benefited a lot from, watching interviews and things like that. I've been kind of I guess it's not, reading, but a voracious reader of all the history around all this industry, and anything I could kind of read in terms of media or listen to in terms of media, I just kind of consumed at a crazy level. So I'm first of all, I kind of love I love reading it and doing it on kind of on my own for my own education. So to contribute to that is great. But the other thing is, it's just if there's another good talent out there trying to come into the industry, I think it's important to give all those opportunities out to them, because it as an industry, we're starved for great people. And it kind of goes back to one of your earlier questions: how are the millennials going to be interested in the space? And part of that is we need a lot of great people. And so putting out the information, or doing what we can do to kind of make it as obvious as possible how exciting this industry is, I think is does a service for the industry as a whole.
And Mike, as you know, the purpose of this podcast is to inspire people to achieve greatness and enhance their personal well-being. So what is your definition of greatness?
That's a good question. I think it's probably doing things with integrity to the people around you, integrity to the communities that you work in, your investors, things like that. I think, regardless of the outcome, doing things, even with the, I guess, integrity towards yourself, doing what you said you were going to do, those type of things. I think that's kind of a good definition of greatness. But then again, creating value or building something out of nothing, and in terms of specific examples, I think that's also a way to describe that. And by creating something out of nothing and having it so that the benefits are enjoyed by many people, which is something that this kind of capitalism, this capitalist system that we have is excellent for. That gets a lot of criticism. It's almost a dirty word, isn't it? Capitalism now, but being able to create companies that create share value for investors and investments in communities and build real things for real people. I think that's a great thing to do, and doing that in a way that's in alignment or has integrity is also very important.
So Mike, one of my fellow listeners had a question about who is Mike outside of Vizsla. So could you please share with us, your other life goals, desires, and passions?
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm not going to lie. A lot of my life's goals and passions are have to do with my work. I just like it. It's everything I think of in a lot of ways. It's my passion. I absolutely love it. But outside of that, the big thing is that I'm a father. I'm a husband. I love spending time with my family. That's the big kind of motivator as well too, is to create a legacy or do things that are going to be beneficial for the family. So that's kind of my major priority. And outside of that, I love to do a lot of things like fishing and surfing and some snowboarding, and there's all types of activities that unfortunately I don't really do as much as I perhaps would like to, because the priority, the work priority gets in the way. But I'm happy to make that sacrifice now to do that. But I'm a father and a husband first, and after that, I would say I'm an entrepreneur in this business. But those are the things that drive me.
Okay, great. So Mike, who is a future guest that you would like to see on this show?
That's a good question. Well, you know what? You should try to get Craig on. That'd be good.
Okay, cool. I'll add that to the list. And Mike, where can our listeners go to connect with you online?
So I'm on Twitter, on LinkedIn, of course, YouTube. We have a few channels there. We have the Vizsla channel. We have our Inventa channel as well. And then, our website, vizslasilver.ca, should be up here shortly. And in the meantime, it's vizslaresources.com. And we're pretty easy just to Google and find, I think.
Okay, great. So Mike, I will make sure to put that in the podcast notes. That way everyone has access to connecting with Vizsla or yourself online. And Mike, I want to just take the time to really thank you for your time today. You've been very generous, and it's been a pleasure to have you on our show today.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ben. I like I said, I really enjoy this format, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you a little bit over the last little while, and happy to do whatever I can do to help help you in the future here. So thank you.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not to be considered personal, legal, or investment advice or a recommendation to buy or sell securities or any other product. It is based on opinions, current events, press releases, and interviews, but is not infallible. It may contain errors, and Living Your Greatness offers no inferred or explicit warranty as to the accuracy of the information presented. If personal advice is needed, consult a qualified legal, tax, or investment professional. Do not base any investment decision on the information contained on Living Your Greatness or our videos. Thank you for listening to the Living Your Greatness podcast. If this show has added value, please subscribe, leave a rating, and make a review.